I've been intrigued with tiny houses for a long time. My goal was to make it as small a space as I could that would still provide for living purposes. It's worked out fine. I'm obviously not living in it yet, but it's beginning to feel more like home as I get closer to moving in. The interior is about 60, which is about the size of a walk-in closet probably.
The tiny house movement doesn't necessarily have a square footage associated with it. The tiny house movement is more about a mindset than actual square footage, about reducing what you need in life.
I intend to spend a lot more time outdoors. I've got a little table and chairs I can set up outdoors, and I can do my work from a coffee shop. So I'm planning to use this space to meet my basic needs. The other good thing about screws is they're not going to come undone if if you move your house very much. I spent a few days with someone in Florida that lived in a tiny house, just to give me a feel for what to expect. And I'm sure it's not for everyone, obviously, but there's certain people it really fits their lifestyle, and I think if just take your time and I wouldn't jump into it right off the bat without doing some research. So I guess the other piece of advice is find out what's really important to you and try to include those things in the house. Don't just say, well, I've got to make it this or that. And I do that before you buy the trailer.
It's one thing to be very enthusiastic about the tiny house movement. It's a great architectural thing. They look very artful and innovative. But imagine living your life in a hotel room. It's not something that you want to do at the drop of a hat without preparation. Most people who live tiny find it takes a good year of mindfully going through your objects, your items, and getting down to a tiny lifestyle before you get in the tiny house.
So creating a smaller space for yourself just forces us to think about what we really need and what matters to us.
What's really important are the relationships I have with other people, not so much the stuff I have. So I'm learning to focus more on that. For me, it's been just turning loose of that stuff is kind of there's a little bit of a freedom aspect to that when you're not tied to something that you don't need, and getting rid of your garbage, I guess. Since I'm retiring in a few weeks, I thought, well, I think the perfect thing for me to do. One reason I wanted to retire, I had a great situation with the job I have because I could work in this house if I want to. I can work anywhere I want. Fits with the passion for the things I enjoy doing. And life's too short just to do other stuff.
Well, the tiny house movement in Kansas City is really in its infancy. Myself, a few other folks, about 12 to 18 months ago, really started getting out into the community to see if there were other people who were interested in developing or living in tiny houses.
I'm really intrigued with the tiny house movement here in Kansas City. It looks like there's some real possibilities there also for a community forming. It looks like it's moving in the right direction, and this gives me a start.
My dream for Kansas City is that each neighborhood, no matter where they're at, would start developing tiny homes as a way to kind of show you can reduce your carbon footprint and lead this great life around people who are of like mind and civic oriented. I think it really has the potential to change the face of Kansas City.